Hey guys, welcome to the Buck Brief. On this episode, Ryan Girdusky back in the mix. National Populist Newsletter is his Substack. Plus, very exciting announcement here on the program. Ryan is joining the Clay and Buck Podcast Network next year with the show.
It's called It's a Numbers Game with Ryan Girdusky. I'm very excited. Thank you for letting me in on your Marvel universe of podcast hosts.
It's gonna be awesome. That's right. We got Ryan, Carol, Tudor, Sean Parnell. Great stuff going on there. But since it's a numbers game, talk me through this number. The 7 million votes that Biden got in 2020, that we are now, at one point it was 15 million, right? But they had to count California and a few other places. But it's 7 million's a lot of votes. And Trump went up a couple million from 2022. Kamala dropped 7 million. What can you tell us about this gap? Because people got questions, a lot of questions.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, I get the questions. I was actually looking for the exact number as of today. Because they just threw in, 250,000 votes from New York that it was delayed in counting. So right now, Trump has 77.193 million votes. Kamala Harris is 74.9 million. So she's about 75 and he's about 77.2. Biden got 81.2. So she's about 6.2 million under.
Okay, 6.2 million.
That's still a lot of votes. That's a lot of votes. It was at 1.15 million, as you said. Blue states are very slow at counting the votes, so it was going to get lower and lower. But there's really nothing left to count unless they pull out a big number at like New Jersey or whatever. But I think they certified New Jersey. So where you see the tremendous drop in votes is in places like New York, New Jersey, California, these very, very blue states. Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Arizona, big surge in voting, big surge in new voting. So what Washington State and Oregon, huge drop. Portland, huge drop out of the city of Portland. And in the early vote going into Election Day, you saw Portland was not showing up. So what it says to me is two things. One, it was a big drop in minorities turning up. The reason I thought that Trump was probably going to win at 7:30 on election night was the minority vote, the black vote, which is usually 13% of the national vote, was 11%, a 2% droppage overall. Hispanic vote was usually 13%. I think it was a 12%. And the white vote had actually climbed 3 to 4 points of the overall national vote. If you look at where the votes were coming from, it's in these very, very blue states. So two things may have happened. One, they left the states during COVID and they never re-registered to vote, which is very, very possible. They moved out of New York, New Jersey, California when these draconian laws were happening. They didn't vote. Or the access to easy voting with mail-in voters propelled a lot of people to vote that didn't show up the second time. Or lastly, a lot of minorities, and this is what the New York Times' Nate Cohn was saying today, the minorities who were most likely to vote for Donald Trump didn't show up. So I think there was, of the black voters, like 66% of blacks who wanted to vote for Trump. 60% of people, blacks who did not vote, wanted to vote for Kamala. 34% wanted to vote for Trump. So 1 in 3 versus 16% that they got nationally. And feeling conflicted, they chose the couch. I really do believe that because the idea that Trump was this existential crisis that they had been propelling and pushing for years, and we had 4 years from being president, and we didn't get involved in World War III, and everyone didn't go into internment camps, and all these lies the Democrats had for all these years. I think a lot of people were okay with Trump being president, even if they didn't like him and they didn't show up. But they didn't come out of swing states. They didn't come out of Michigan or Pennsylvania or Georgia, and it wasn't like any of the states that were responsible for giving Biden 270 saw this dip in voting. They all actually saw a surge in voting. I think that it was a combination maybe of all three.
So the number 6.2 million, Kamala underperformed. The white working class vote in the swing states, what can we say about the role that played now?
Well, it was very big, but I think the bigger question is, and we're going to know more as time goes on, was how, if you look at Hillary,
can I jump in? Just the better
Sure.
question. Why did Trump win the swing states by the numbers?
I mean, so if you look at AP Votecast, right, which is the best source we have so far on all the data in the swing states. One, Republicans did an amazing job of registering voters for the last 4 years. In Pennsylvania, they reduced the number by like 400,000. In Arizona, it was like 250,000. They worked for 4 years actually registering new Republicans in states that had registered Republicans. One, the female vote was not this monstrosity towards Harris. Like, it wasn't this tidal wave of female support. But you know what? The polls never said that. The media said that, but the polling literally never had her at a bigger point with women than Hillary or Biden. She was always underperforming, but she underperformed even what the polls were saying. She won women by 6 points. The polling had her winning women by 10 or 11, versus Hillary's like 14. So she underperforming women was a big part of it. The polls were dead right when it came to minorities. I mean, they hit almost exactly where they said the minority vote would be, was actually what showed up. They were off on the youth vote. The young voters did show up for Trump in a very big way. Young women showed up for Trump in a bigger way than people think. Over 40% of young women voted for Trump, which they did not expect. I did not expect. And the senior vote, which I talked about a lot, Trump won it. Trump won it, didn't win it by 5 or 4 points, but he won it by 3. Pollsters said he was going to lose it by 6. So he didn't lose too much ground with senior citizens. We're going to get more data on that later on, especially as retired communities start coming in. But he didn't lose that much support with them. He gained support in the suburbs. He gained support among minorities, and he gained support among women. And I think that a combination, and he didn't lose anything with the white working class, and didn't lose anything with the college educated white voters. So I think all of those, I mean, that's why he won. That's why he got within 6. That and the drop of Democratic support in Democratic states is why he came within 5 points in New Jersey. It's why he won all 7 swing states. It's why he's within 2 points in Minnesota and New Hampshire. I mean, and you know what is incredible when you think about it? If Joe Biden had been the nominee, as things had progressed and how bad as he got mentally, there's no question that New York would have been, within a few. I think that New Jersey would have been Republican. I think that Minnesota would have been Republican. New Hampshire would have been Republican. Virginia and New Mexico. I think that you would have seen a cataclysmic election day result that is even worse than how Kamala did.
I want to ask you when we come back here from our sponsor in a second, who is the leader of the Democrat resistance, or what do you think that's going to look like going into the beginning of Trump's term? Who are the people that are waiting to sort of step in as the big guns, if you will, of the Democrat Party? But first up, our sponsor is Wide Moat Research here. In 2016, Brad Thomas was tapped to become an advisor to President Trump because he's an expert in the world's largest asset, an asset that's bigger than stocks and bonds combined. Let him amass over $1 billion in business transactions and launch his own New York Stock Exchange-listed ETF, not to mention developing a network of ultra-wealthy contacts. But his mission is to help everyday investors in the stock market using his insights that he's gained and a network of small group of his followers that could have seen 44% annualized gains per year over 5 years. He's now opening membership to his research in a whole new way. It begins with a top investment opportunity, which he thinks could deliver huge gains as Trump takes the White House. You got to move, though, before the end of 2024, he says. Start by going to check out this website to do your research and do your due diligence, bradalert.com. That's bradalert.com. Brad Thomas has agreed to share his information with you. That's bradalert.com, paid for by Wide Moat Research. Is it going to be nominee AOC in 28? Take out the crystal ball. Let me just preface this a little bit. I think Obama did a lot of damage, and I know Joe Rogan spoke about this. But I think Obama did a lot of damage to his brand among sort of center and center-left people with the whole very fine people lie that he tried against Trump at the end. It's just a lie. And Obama's a smart guy. He knows it's a lie. He didn't care. He just tried to smear Trump. So he's not above it at all. I never thought he was, but Obama's not above the most, obvious and gross lies. And he can't run again. I think finally, unless some boomers start yelling at me for this, I don't think Michelle Obama's running. That's not happening.
I don't think Michelle Obama will ever do another political event again.
Yeah.
I don't think she will ever speak at another DNC. I don't think she will ever do anything political ever again.
Yeah. The people who have been saying that, that she's not interested so
Oh,
far have
we
been
were
correct.
we were tarred and feather for telling people the truth that she would not be the nominee, and some other political commentators on the right they were burning that flame for a long time.
Oh, that is true. So, here's what I want to know: who steps in? Who is, you got these people like Schiff and that other guy, Goldman, who were very big in kind of impeachment, legal, Russia, Trump stuff, all this. They don't have it, right? They don't have any X factor. They don't have any national level charisma. Is the list really Whitmer, Newsom, the stout fellow from Illinois, and who
Pritzker,
yeah,
Shapiro,
Pritzker,
even Shapiro.
yeah, Shapiro.
Yeah, I think that the resistance as it is looks a lot different than it did in 2016. You're not seeing Democrats act the same way. Um, you're not seeing Democrats lose their mind so publicly as they did. I guess the nervous breakdowns are more inside the house than outside in public. I don't know if you're going to have another women's march where millions of women take to the streets. I think Trump winning the popular vote really took the wind out of their sails in a big way. They can say it was an illegitimately elected president by their standards. Also, there's a thing called a popular vote compact where these states got together and said, whoever wants a popular vote, we're going to give them all their electoral college votes. I would love to see if they include California and New York. So let's see if they actually give their electoral college votes to Donald Trump. But that's neither here nor there. I think that when it comes to the resistance or the next leadership, look at Hillary's convention, look at Biden's convention, and look at Harris's convention. When you look at the way they approach the Democratic Party, their goal has always been to win over center right independents, military people, moderates. They've made an open gesture towards them, even if the party has been unhinged. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. I don't think, and this is what I truly think, I don't think Democrats will nominate another woman to be president for a very, very long time. I just don't see how that's going to happen at this point, given the only two to lose, and lose to Trump were women. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that Whitmer has it. I think Shapiro is somebody to look out for. I think Wes Moore is somebody to watch out for. I think Wes Moore has a lot of what they're looking for. He's the governor of Maryland right now. Um, but it will be a fight over the more sensibly approach Democrats who actually look like they're normal, and then that congresswoman from Texas, I forget her name now. She just comes off as completely unhinged and nutty and screaming all the time. She feeds the base like what Cori Bush fed the base, and but what the party wants is a much different approach to it. But I would guess a Wes Moore or a Josh Shapiro is who they're going to turn their eyes to. There's not a lot of Senate talent. Be Elise Slotkin. I'm not exactly sure. There's not a ton of Senate talent where they're going to sit there and pull from.
I mean, I feel like this is we've gone in a couple of election cycles from which Democrat dynasty is going to elbow out the other one to what Democrat dynasty. Like there really isn't one in the mix right now. I mean, RFK Jr. is part of Trump world.
Right. And the funny thing is, and the interesting thing is that there is once. And our buddy Ann Coulter says all the time, once all the white men were phased out of the party, the Joe Biden generation, the Nancy Pelosi generation, Steny Hoyer's generation, it is the craziest people left. There is not, a normal one. There is not a power broker like her in their wings right now. I mean, the average voter would still say Nancy Pelosi leads the House Democrats, and it's not Hakeem Jeffries from New York. I mean, no one really believes that Hakeem is calling more shots than Nancy is, and I think that that's evident. So I think that they don't have. I think the reason Nancy Pelosi is still around at 82, 84 years old, and still calling all the shots is there isn't a natural successor in the mix. I don't think that there is, and I don't. Maybe there will be, but I don't see it. And you know what? They didn't like Obama that much either as being a quote unquote successor because they had a lot of people from the Chicago machine and machine Democrats running his White House and his administration. They weren't Like they didn't think that he was going to be the power broker. Could you? I read an article about this. Can you name one thing politically Obama has done since leaving the White House?
No, not one.
He does.
I mean,
He's all been about Netflix and documentaries and living. I mean, good for him. He's making money. He's having a nice life. But his legacy is pretty horrendous. When you really look back at the political legacy of Barack Obama after his first 2 years when he got Obamacare and everything through, um, you have the downfall of the Democratic Party where they lost 1,000 legislative seats, the House and the Senate, the election of Donald Trump, I guess the election of Joe Biden, where he, had some policy goals, whatever, but it was horribly unpopular. And then Kamala Harris, the woman that he pushed Biden to pick as his VP, loses against Donald Trump again, and Republicans have a trifecta in Congress. And Democrats have never been so leadershipless. Really, going back to like when Clinton was first running in the 90s.
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It feels like you have the most wide open Democrat field in my adult lifetime. I've never seen anything like this. So that's why I asked you the question. It feels like Trump's agenda. I mean, they've never been in a better position to make big gains and big changes. But
right, if they can do it, if they can do it, and they can do it, but also, I mean, like we're in a moment right now where we're at the last act of the Trump show. Like this is it. Like this is his last term. Hopefully he configured a electoral map that may ultimately change politics in the same way that Richard Nixon did in 1968 when he brought Southern Democrats and neocons and ethnic whites into the party. Trump did that in 2024, and if they're smart, they can do it again, and they can keep it and grow the party in that fashion. Trump's legacy, to a large degree, is going to be made in the next 3.5 years, and then once that's over, it is an absence of what we haven't had in 12 years. We will never have a man like Donald Trump run for president again in our lifetimes. But because he is such a special individual figure. But the whole Trump ethos show is going to come to an end, and it is a big question as to what follows. Because I would say 70% of Republicans in Congress are more like George Bush Republicans than Donald Trump Republicans. We have a great vice president, but we have a lot of people who very much are like build the wall, but here's my George Bush bumper sticker under my Donald Trump.
Yeah, the party, the sort of Cheney Bush party might have a resurgence. Anyway, well, let's not make everybody sad with that quite yet. Let's talk about Eric Adams. Let's talk about Eric Adams in New York City. What's going on there? But first up, the holidays can be especially difficult for children who have lost a mother or father in the line of duty. When Sergeant Stephen Splann suffered a heart attack while on fire duty, you were there to lift his family during the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Season of Hope. With your help, dozens of families like his are receiving the gift of a mortgage-free home or a specially adapted smart home this holiday season. Through Tunnel to Towers, heroes and their families who have sacrificed so much for us are having the burden of a mortgage lifted off their shoulders and a place to call home. Your gift to the foundation during the Season of Hope may be the most meaningful gift you give this holiday season. Your kindness will bring help and hope to heroes and their families who are so deserving of our gratitude. And yes, they absolutely are. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org. Eric Adams is being indicted has been indicted by the feds, right? So they're coming after him for some, to me, it looks like some nonsense. Now he's saying criminal illegals, which I know this is kind of, this is like, what does that even mean? Illegal alien status in the country plus committing additional crimes. He says he's going to kick them out and help deport them, like pass them along to ICE.
And so does Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, so does the governor of New York all of a sudden. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think that. Well, and I think that he would love a pardon right now. I don't think that there's a chance he wins re-election as of right now, especially because New York has that stupid system where you vote for your second place and third place voter choice, rank choice. If he was very strong, Andrew Cuomo would not be prepping to run, which he is. And he's going to be outflanked from the progressives. So I think that right now he's looking at his best bet for how he gets through this. And I think it's good politics, good policy ahead of a re-election. So maybe he's trying to win over some support from communities affected by crime. Um, and the fact that Kathy Hochul's agreeing with him, I think there's a lot of people looking at the tea leaves in New York City and New York State and saying, how did the state that was as left as California become more to the right than Texas is to the left? Like Texas is less of a swing state than New York is in the last election, and that elections have become tighter and tighter and tighter every election for the last three successive elections, right? For mayor, New York City, for governor, for two elections. Those things have been working in Republicans' favor. And I think they're nervous. I think they're genuinely nervous. There's a sea change in New York happening, and Eric Adams needs a place to land. I think that's he's thinking. I think Kathy, I have to be different. I can't be, I have to move to the middle in order to secure an election victory. Because there's a couple people allegedly looking at running that are going to be serious, that will have serious money and lots of money and a real campaign against her if they run. I don't think they're going to take New York governor races like they did in the mid aughts, where they would just not back anybody.
So you think that New York politics in New York has gotten a bit of a shakeup? Because to me, it's interesting that the biggest city in America has and the state of New York, as you point out, the governor changing their tune on immigration right before the biggest imminent challenge that I see Trump facing is if they're really going to ramp up deportations in a way that people know, that they're not just talking about,
Right.
but you're aware of it. That's going to get very interesting and very heated.
Right. And listen, I mean, if they can go to Rikers and start bringing them out, and there's some Rikers waiting for them, 100%. But look, here's the thing. Suffolk County, before Trump in 2016, had not voted Republican since I think 1988. It went for Republicans by 11 points. Staten Island, which you would think is a Republican place, went for Obama over Romney in 2012. It went by 30 points for Trump. Queens County is more Republican than Westchester County, which that is like waking up one day and speaking Japanese after, like, that is unbelievable that is all happening. The numbers are just wild. Places in like New York City that I would have never ever assumed a Republican would ever get a vote. Jesus Christ could have ran as a Republican and lost. Donald Trump won, like Jackson Heights, Queens. That's an area that there was never a question that was going to happen. The Bronx and Brooklyn being even as far as Republican vote is wild, and it's all organic. There is no functioning Republican Party in New York State. Outside the congressional elections, no one puts money in this state. The media market's so expensive. There's no Republican ads being streamed into New York City. It's wildly costly. This is 100% organic. And that is what's making them nervous, and they want to know why. Why did Adams have a tighter election for mayor last time against Curtis Lewa, who I like Curtis and no problem with him, but it was a bit of a joke campaign. And why is it gonna? Any Democrat is gonna face the same uphill battle where things are.
Do you think a Republican? You remember Romney was governor of Massachusetts back in the day. Do you think that a centrist Republican would be in a position to run against and beat Hochul, or do you think that could happen?
I think 100% true. I think especially as they move to the center, there's something in New York. In New York, there's something called a Wilson Pakula, which means that you can run as more than one party. So you can run as a Republican, an independent, and a conservative, and all those votes are tabulated together, and that's what you get. And that's often what happens. There's something called the Working Families Party, which is a very far left liberal party in New York State. They never endorsed, or the Green Party never endorsed Andrew Cuomo. I don't think the Working Family Party ever endorsed Andrew Cuomo either. If someone like Jumaane Williams ran for mayor, or some other very far left liberal New Yorker ran for governor as Kathy Hochul is moving to the right, I could see the Working Family Party endorsing against her and running a third party person against her. And they actually have registered voters. They have over 100,000 plus registered voters. That would mean something. That would really, really mean something in a very tight election. If like a Mike Lawler, who was clearly a very serious candidate, he outran Trump by 7 points in his district, ran and won in a seat that Harris won. If he ran, I think it's a very serious thing, especially as Long Island's becoming red, red, red. Queens is close to 40%. Staten Island is the second most red county in all the Mid-Atlantic, outside of Ocean County, New Jersey. And upstate is ballooning a little bit, but it's a lot of ex-Manhattanites moving up there. So you never know. I mean, it's a far different thing. If New York City is changing in a way that makes it much more competitive, then the state is changing too.
So it sounds like, just to close us up here, Ryan, the sense of political devastation that some of us believe the Democrats must be feeling, they are kind of feeling it right now. I mean, things are.
Yeah, they're going through a soul searching. Listen, 7 years of saying the most insane things did not work for them. Boys can be girls in preschool. They all can play sports together, and then we'll do Black Lives Matter, and then we'll do DEI, and no one gets grades, and no one gets police, and everything's going to be this wonderful, happy, magical place. It didn't really work for them. So now you're sitting here and seeing a bunch of Democrats saying, hey, let's do something different. Let's find that sweet spot. Is it like John Fetterman, who is moderated on a lot of things? Is it just being pro-Israel like Richie Torres is doing? Is it doing some kind of immigration enforcement? Is it the girls and boys sports like Seth Mooland from Massachusetts is doing? They're all looking for, how do I get back to the middle by cutting off these very insane fringe parts of the Democratic Party? Is that going to cost me more than win? And they're all taking a different approach to it to find themselves where they should be, because they lost their minds in 2020, and now they're waking up to smell the coffee.
Our sponsor here is Done with Debt. Look, costs are still really high. Trump's coming in, he's going to do good things, but in the meantime, you're still paying for all that overspending at the pump, at the grocery store, and there's a growing stack of unpaid bills that are really affecting millions of Americans day in and day out. That's why Done with Debt created new aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done with Debt stands between you and bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, and stop penalties. They have a plan to put more money in your pocket month one. And Done with Debt is accepting new clients right now, but you need to hurry because some of their debt strategies are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Let Done with Debt help you make your money yours again. Visit donewithdebt.com or call 888-322-1054 right now. Chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Ryan, when does the Numbers Game with Ryan Girdusky launch on the network? Everyone's very excited. I'm very excited.
January 2025. I don't have the exact date yet, but it is coming next a month and a half. So in 1 month. So I will, in fact, 1 month it was there. But yeah, in 1 month, in January 2025, it's a Numbers Game with Ryan Girdusky comes out. Our first episode, I believe we are going to discuss what is a new swing district. What are the new areas that changed because of this election? And I will go break down the numbers every week. I'm going to have a new piece of data that everyone should hear about and know about. And I will dive into it. It'll be political. It'll be economic. It'll be cultural. And it will be the thing that you should know about.
Fantastic. Ryan Girdusky, everybody. Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.